Football rivalries. Love them, hate them, doesn't matter. You'll be there regardless. Whether player versus player, country versus country, or perhaps the most exciting of all, club versus club. You don't truly understand and appreciate the beauty of rivalries until you find yourself rooting for the failure of your rivals more than the success of your team. In this video, we'll explore some of the most heated club rivalries, how they began, who's the successful one, and who's just plain old bitter. There's no love lost between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Their rivalries extended beyond the clubs and fan bases to their players. Luis Figo was considered a traitor for playing for both Los Blancos and their Catalan rivals. Barcelona ultras took it upon themselves to boo him to the loudest heavens. Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi's rivalry festered due to the rivalries between their clubs, and more or less petered out when they both left. But how did we get here? Why do these clubs despise one another? The El Clasico, as their heated meetings are called, is easily the most renowned derby in the world, but it didn't always exist. The first match between these two happened long ago in 1902, and it was a friendly that ended 3-1 in the Catalan Giants' favour. Oh, but that didn't trigger their hatred for one another. No, for that you have to thank good old divisive politics. Barcelona are regarded as a Catalan giant because they represent Catalan nationalism, while Real Madrid represents Spanish nationalism. These two ideologies could not be more opposite. Add to that both sides believing the other got an unfair advantage from a turbulent period in their nation's history, and you get such deep-seated hatred that a game of football becomes the moral path to duking it out. The rivalries only worsened every time both clubs met, with Madrid currently holding the highest win in their history, with an 11-1 pummeling of Barcelona in the 1943 Copa del Rey. In terms of success, both clubs are some of the most successful in the sport. Barcelona have been luckier domestically, while Real have dominated the European stage. Combined, though, Los Blancos have been by far the most successful side. The old firm derby might not have the same pull as El Clasico, but it's up there for the most heated rivalries of all time. There's never been a boring clash between Celtic and Rangers, the two most successful clubs in Scottish football. Every time they've met, it's been a phenomenal match. Goals galore, late drama, and huge refereeing calls that leave fans screaming at the top of their lungs or holding their breaths. As the name suggests, the old firm derby is old, even older than El Clasico. Rangers and Celtic first clashed in 1888. At the time, there was no rivalry, and both teams considered each other friendly. What drove the wedge between both clubs was religious differences. Scotland might not have been a country of scattered tribes at the time, but they were still very much divided along lines of faith. One half was Protestant and the other Catholic. You need only look at your history books to know how much the older church detests its younger, defector offspring. So, naturally, meetings between the two often devolved from the beautiful game to violence, in which fans on both sides invaded the fields to throw hands and vandalize property. Celtic holds the highest win record in the Old Firm derby, with a 7-1 thumping of Rangers in the 1957 League Cup final, which has since been dubbed Hampden in the Sun by the Celtic ultras. Although Celtic appeared to be more popular and successful, their Protestant rivals are the more successful club, with some 2 trophies more than the former. You don't need to be an avid fan of South American football to know that Boca Juniors and River Plate don't see eye to eye. Their clash, otherwise known as the Super Clasico, faces off the two biggest, most popular and most successful Argentine clubs against each other. It's a must-see event for fans of the club and has been played since 1913. Since then, both clubs have actively sought to leapfrog the other to the title of the best club in Buenos Aires. What makes this rivalry unique is the background of both clubs. Boca Juniors came to be a club of the everyday people, the lower class. River Plate, on the other hand, was the club of the elite and upper class. Both sides didn't need religious or political influences to hate each other. They just do. Their very stations compelled it. Of course, with such a rivalry in a continent where football is more than just a sport but a religion and a culture, things have escalated multiple times. As recently as 2015, River Plate fans were pepper sprayed by a Boca Juniors fan. That's some commitment. In the 261 meetings of the Super Clasico, Boca have been the more successful side with 91 wins, including the largest winning margin, 6-0 in December 1928. River tried returning the favour with a 5-1 thumping in 1941, but the lower-class clubs still maintained the better victory margin. There have been many more goal fests in the years that followed. In terms of success, the elite club is second best, but only by a slight margin, winning 72 honours to Boca's 74. As far as rivalries go, none is closer and more local than the Derby della Madonnina. For one, both Milan clubs share the same stadium and were cut from the same cloth. Similar to the Catholics and Protestants, Inter seceded from Milan to become its club due to differences in ideologies. Inter wanted foreign players, but AC Milan didn't. That's why the blue half of Milan is called Internazionale, because we are the brothers of the world. To both sets of fans, the stadium has different names. To Inter fans, it's the Giuseppe Meazza Stadium, named after one of Inter Milan's most prolific players. To AC Milan fans, on the other hand, it's the San Siro, named after the district of the stadium's location. Neither side is prepared to call the stadium after their rivals though, creating another source of feud for the fans. Is it any wonder then that their rivalry is bone-chilling, like two brothers who could never see eye to eye? If their origins weren't chaotic enough, both clubs attracted opposite kinds of fans. Inter became the club of the lower class, while Milan attracted the working and upper class. We've seen how that played out with Boca and River. The first game between both sides was in 1908, when both clubs first set out to best each other and become the better team in Milan. The OG club, AC Milan, is the more successful of the two, with 49 honours to Inter's 43. They also have the highest win margin, when they thumped Inter 6-0 in the 2001 season. To the modern football fan introduced to the game in the last decade, the thought of Millwall rivaling West Ham simply makes no sense. Both clubs aren't exactly neighbours, and the Hammers are by far the more successful club. They play in the Premier League compared to Millwall languishing in the Championship. However, the Dockers derby, first played in 1899, is more than just a clash between nearby teams. West Ham and Millwall used to be called Thames Ironworks and Millwall Athletic respectively, and their chief supporters were mostly shipyard dockers on the East End of London. The closeness of the clubs meant there was some friendliness between them. However, they represented two different firms fighting for the same business. This corporate rivalry soon transcended into the field of play. What started as a friendly rivalry then intensified and got bitter. Despite the Hammers being the bigger club now, Millwall have a better record against them, winning 38 of their 99 derbies to West Ham's 34. In 1903, Millwall further cemented their dominance over the Hammers with a 7-1 thumping. In terms of honours though, West Ham lead the charts with 23 trophies to Millwall's 19. Close with room for competition. We love to see it. Everyone with some football knowledge knows about the rivalry between the most successful German side and their closest rivals with its ferocious yellow wall. Der Klassiker is one of the biggest derbies in world football that's been played since 1965. Not the oldest, but certainly one of the most watched and fiercest to date. The rivalry between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund has only worsened the better Bayern's become, which has made the club easily poach Dortmund talents. The ease with which both teams exchange and sell each other players is most unusual for fierce rivals though. That said, considering how Bayern pretty much dominated the Bundesliga for a decade, Dortmund haven't even come close in terms of success. In 21 league meets, Bayern's emerged victorious 11 times to Dortmund's 6. They also hold the highest win margin of 11-1, which was over 50 years ago, but is still being celebrated to date. Ouch! In terms of trophy cabinets, Bayern must have run out of room for its stash. For perspective, Bayern have 32 Bundesliga titles to Dortmund's 5. Let's not even talk about the Champions League, where Bayern are the lead for 6 to Dortmund's 1. Argentina has the Super Classico, while their Brazilian neighbours are treated to the Paulista Derby. Corinthians and Palmeiras are two of the oldest, most successful clubs in the Sao Paulo region, and their rivalry traces to 1917. Unlike the other rivalries on here that began with different ideologies, the Paulista Derby was born because Palmeiras hurt Corinthians' feelings. The year is 1917. Corinthians are a high-flying team unbeaten in 25 matches. Palmeiras, on the other hand, is a new team, wet behind the ears and raring to go. The two face off, and by some weird beginner's luck, Corinthians succumb to a 3-0 thrashing. They've been out for blood ever since, but with minimal success. As far as famous scorelines go, Palmeiras have the upper hand, slapping about their Sao Paulo rivals 8-0 in 1933. Then in 2020, robbing them of victory in the Campeonato Paulista final. In terms of overall honours and performance though, Corinthians' longer history means they have 10 silverware to Palmeiras' 6. Not to be confessed with the German Die Klassiker, this Dutch derby sees fierce rivals Ajax clash with Feyenoord. Both clubs first butted heads in 1917. However, it wasn't until 1921 that they considered each other rivals. That decision was courtesy of a match that ended 3-2 in Ajax's favour. Feyenoord were not too keen on the result and protested, leading to Ajax being deducted a goal and having to share points. The Amsterdam team has loathed the Rotterdam side ever since. Their ultras hate each other even more, with toots and fights breaking out before, during and after the Klassiker matches regularly. In terms of success, Ajax have been the most successful club until recently. Their biggest win margin against Feyenoord was 8-2 in 1983. In terms of silverware, Ajax are also ahead, with 75 trophies to Feyenoord's 37. What a distance! The two most successful English sides are separated by just 34 miles. But why do Liverpool and Manchester United hate each other so much? The Northwest Derby has only recently come second to the Manchester Derby. Before now, it was easily the biggest English derby, and not just a local but regional one at that. The region's always been at loggerheads, both economically and industrially. Also, Liverpool used to be the most dominant team in the English football pyramid, before United came and ruined it with over 2 decades of Sir Alex Ferguson's dominance. Both sides have continued to produce brilliant results whenever they clash, such as the recent dramatic late FA Cup tie that knocked Liverpool out, ruining their chances at a quadruple in Klopp's final season. Historically though, Liverpool hold the highest win margin with a 7-0 thumping of United fairly recently. In terms of head-to-head match stats, United have 83 wins to Liverpool's 71. But as far as silverware goes, Liverpool edge past the Red Devils with 68 trophies to United's 67, courtesy of their better performance in the last decade under Klopp. Which of these rivalries do you think is the best to watch? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Stay tuned for part 2 coming soon.